My name is Julia Real. I'm a plastic surgeon in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. And this is Ana Carolina Campolina. She's a plastic surgeon in Recife. Both of us do only facial plastic surgery. And we are going to interview Dr. Dilip Madnani from New York. He is also a facial plastic surgeon. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his work and how his surgical career started.
Olá, sou Drlessandromartins e seja bem-vindo ao nosso Deepcast 2024. Aqui você encontrará as principais discussões sobre cirurgias da face com alguns dos cirurgiões mais renomados do mundo. Inscreva-se em nosso canal e fique por dentro.
Thank you both for having me. I have had the pleasure to meet them both over the last 2 years at all the Brazilian conferences. Our friends Leandro and Jair have invited me, and because of that I have a new family in Brazil. So it's nice to talk to you too.
It's really nice to have you here again.
It's a pleasure. So, Dr. Dilip, please let us know a little bit of your background. Yesterday we were talking, so I would love if you could share with everyone your background. Like you are a cosmopolitan and you came from the whole world. Tell us your story, please.
Yeah, it's been, for me it was just normal, but whenever I explain it, people are surprised. But I'm born and raised in Hong Kong. And my parents are from India, so Hong Kong used to be a British colony, and my dad went there when he was 18 for work. So he was a rags to riches story. He went with nothing, and he built a very nice life for all of us. I have a twin brother and an older brother. So when we were about 12 or in high school, my parents decided to send us to a Swiss boarding school. So we spent 6 years from 12 to 18 over there. And after that, I was accepted to college in America. I went to Brown University, and I was lucky enough to be accepted to medical school in America. And I stayed, and then residency, and my life has been in America since.
Lovely.
And how did you decide on your specialty after medical school? How was your decision making process?
So I always wanted to be a doctor, so I knew that was the easy thing. And my first goal in life was to be a doctor, so that was the easy part. Once you got to medical school, I didn't really think further than that. But I knew that if I was going to spend the time to do medicine, I wanted to cut people open. Otherwise, it wasn't worth it. You have to do that.
I fully understand you.
Right? You're going to do all that work. And so I remember even in my anatomy lab, they were like, who wants to cut first? And I was like, me. That's what I was waiting for. But then I had to decide what specialty to choose. And to be honest, I'm ENT facial plastics, so I'm a head and neck surgeon, but I didn't realize head and neck surgery was a specialty. I found out about that at the end of my third year. I was looking at cardiac surgery, ophthalmology, neurosurgery, orthopedic surgery. I was looking at all of those, but then I still remember the lecture of the head and neck anatomy. And I remember falling in love with that one slide of the face taken apart, with all the intricacies that we get to deal with on a daily basis, with the vessels and the nerves and the muscles and the senses that we have to work around. So it was just when I saw that, I was like, that's what I want to do, and I have to figure out how to do it.
Lovely, very good. And let me ask you a question. We saw your surgery, which was amazing. We really liked it. Beautiful, beautiful dissection. We could see everything, right? Like sometimes doing live surgery is not easy to see things, and we saw everything, and it was great. So how do you manage your practice? Do you do most of your cases in a deep plane fashion, or do you still work in some cases with plication? And how do you manage the techniques nowadays?
I started off my career doing plications and then subsmash, and now it's all deep plane. It's relatively easy at this point. The deep plane, to be honest, now I'm more focused on the closures and spending time on the closure part.
We've seen it
to minimize the scarring. If I have to improve one thing about my surgery critically, I'm not happy with my earlobes at this point. I'm happy with everything else, and I've also extended to involve the temporal area as well. But concerning the facelift, everybody gets a deep plane.
Yeah, great. And point. Regarding the neck, so what do you usually work on the neck?
The neck is a simple platysmoplasty. I'm starting to do some gland work, but I'm picking those patients appropriately and starting to do that. Now that I have a new surgeon in my practice, I feel more comfortable doing gland work because I operate in my office. I don't operate in the hospital. And we do everything as safe, with the same protocols, but I want to be super safe. I'd rather have another surgeon in the room while I get comfortable with the gland work.
And for the glands, how do you resect them? What do you use?
I got a ligature.
You did?
Yeah. So I want to just be, once again, super safe. I don't want to be stressed. And all of these, at all the lectures, I keep hearing about the bleeding, and I keep hearing how everybody is much more comfortable now with either the epidural or ligature devices. So when I see that, I'm, the devices will feel better, and I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to do what works, and
you're right.
And start from there. It's a little extra cost, but it's worth it for the patient.
Based on New York, where are your patients mainly from?
So I would say about 60-70% are from New York, and the rest are from the United States and the world. Right now I have a patient I operated on last week, her and her daughters, all from the Middle East. I have patients from around the United States and from Europe. We have a patient from Denmark coming in. So I would say about 30-40% are outside of New York. And then New York City is about another 50-60%. But I also have a practice on Long Island and in Florida and Boca Raton.
How do you manage all of those practices?
Yes,
this is the thing that everyone wants to know that.
So
one surgeon, all these practices.
We'll talk about that. We'll get there. But in terms of, New York is like Brazil in terms of you have a lot of states, a lot of people who can travel easily. So New York, Long Island, and Florida, especially Boca, it's all like suburbs. The patients are kind of travel and do holiday, and they have a home in Long Island, and New York City, they like to be there, or their kids are in the city, or they spend the winters snowbirds in Florida. So I'm just accessing my patients.
Oh, okay.
And making it convenient for them. And then their friends also want me to operate on them. But sometimes they don't want to come to New York. So I don't mind traveling. And then how do I manage? I split my time, but I do a lot of non-surgical treatments in the office. So there's always revenue being generated, or the business is being run, even when I'm not there, even though it's not surgery. So
what are the main procedures that you do that are non-surgical?
We do, mostly injectables. We have a very large injectable practice. Fillers, Botox, neurotoxins. We do a lot of cosmetic skincare. I have all the lasers, and we use them well, and I make sure my team is trained very well on how to use them, because people are just not comfortable. Even the dermatologists are not comfortable.
Yeah.
They're comfortable with maybe one device.
Yep.
Right? But we have become very comfortable with them. And we also do the non-surgical skin tightening, the radio frequencies, the ultrasound, all of that. So when I'm not in, for example, Long Island, my injectors are working. And then when I'm not in my Manhattan office, my injectors are working. And either way, I need to give my team a break from me so they can catch up with the admin. It's a lot of work we generate in terms of paperwork, in terms of phone calls, pre-ops. So I take a week off a month away from work.
Like vacations?
So normally vacations. So I don't work. Even though I'm here, I'm working on my phone, but I'm doing brain work. I'm not doing surgical work. So during the week I take off, my practice gets to catch up with all the work they have to do. Whether it's contacting patients, post-ops, marketing, just taking a break from me because they need that too. Because I'm we're all like that. We're just always
surgeons.
We're all surgeons.
We're surgeons. That's all.
And it's nice, but I also have my own OR team. I don't have a hospital, right? So my nurses have to do the pre-ops. They work long hours when I'm there. My surgical technicians have to make sure the OR supplies are there, the OR is clean. Like at least I take a break, and then they will catch up with the work, and then. In the winter, I was going to Florida anyway, so I decided why not try doing surgeries in Florida. I think when I met you, I was just talking about
it. Yeah, you were
starting
going to open the practice.
I found a place there. He's an amazing surgeon. It's his practice. I just rent a space. and he helps me with the post-op. But I'm also at a point where we have so many patients coming in from international that really after 10 days there wasn't much else. It's just hand-holding. There was I'm knocking on wood, the complications were low.
So usually your patients that do not come from US, they stay there for 10 days.
10 to 14 days.
Yeah.
And if it's a plane ride, then it has to be 14 days. But if it's a drive, I don't mind a little sooner. So in Florida too, they come back for 1 week and 2 weeks for sutures. If they need some catalog, they will do it, or I'm going to go back in a month anyway. But I only work, so in the winter I will go down and work 3 days there. But then when I go back for follow-up, I will see the patients for follow-up, or we do it virtually.
Yeah, so usually do you have any recommendations, special recommendations when the patients go back home, those foreign patients, I mean? Or do you just keep up with time, vitamin T, and that's life?
In terms of follow-ups, there's very little, right? It's just healing and hand-holding, right? It's a reassurance that everything is going to be fine. And you prep them beforehand. You know, I do, like you guys do, we do a lot of educational videos, and we post our patients, and we describe the pre-op, the post-op, the aftercare. People understand that they're going to be numb. They understand they may have a little swelling, especially post-auricular. They understand the discoloration on the incisions. And then we make recommendations in terms of lasers, in terms of steroid injections. So I always ask for them to have someone local, whether it's a dermatologist, plastic surgeon, primary care. And then if they need something, whether it's a steroid or something, then I can explain how to do it.
So you contact directly this person and then do some orientation.
And we also have a nice app. It's a medical compliance app. It's called Clara. The patient can text or video chat or send pictures anytime. So my staff are monitoring this app all the time, and my patients have my phone number for the nighttime and the weekends. But to be honest, they never call. And even when they go back home, they send a message on the app, and we get back to them within...
Feel more secure.
Yeah, so everyone, we hold their hands for a long time.
Yeah, that's it. They need it.
Let me go back a little bit onto history and everything. Who are your mentors?
I learned a lot of it on the job. I didn't do a fellowship. When I first started, I had a couple of friends. We were all just doing SMES applications. They showed me a couple, and I started doing it. But we're head and neck surgeons. I'm comfortable. I just didn't do much aesthetics. I did a lot of reconstruction. And when I started my career, I had moved to New Mexico because I was a foreign student in America, and I didn't have a green card or anything. So when I graduated residency in New York, I wanted to go into private practice, but I couldn't. New York State won't give you a license unless you're a U.S. citizen.
Oh.
So you can practice in the hospital system, in the university system, but you can't practice private practice. So I said no. I don't want to stay in the hospital system.
This is a New York law,
It's in New York.
It's U.S. state.
I think it may. I'm not sure in which states, but I know for New York State it was like.
Okay.
So then I went to an underserved area. So it was a small town of 26,000 people in New Mexico called Carlsbad. So I moved there for 4 years. I got my green card, but I was so busy there. I was the only head and neck surgeon, but I did everything. I did pediatrics, I did skin cancer work, we did rhinoplasties, we did otoplasties, we did head and neck cancer work. I did everything. I got very busy, but I had some family issues with my child. So after 4 years, we closed the practice, and I had my green card, but I didn't have my New York license yet. So I moved back to New York in 2010. It took me a few months to get my license, and I started working. And I was working with some dermatology friends, and there was a company that did a lot of facelifts, but it was mostly applications. So I was working for that company. So I started getting some experience that way.
Oh, lovely. And how did you actually started your practice itself? How it is nowadays?
I just rented office space, and it was 1 day a week. I did 1 day a week on Long Island and 1 day a week in Manhattan. I worked in 2 dermatology offices. I worked in 2 ENT offices. So every day of the week, even half days, I was in somewhere else. And
That's a hard thing to commute in New York, though, right? Because of traffic and everything.
it's not, I don't think anything in life is meant to be easy, but it was if you're you do what you need to do to get to where you have to go. So and all these offices, they had cosmetic patients too. So I would do whatever cosmetics, blepharoplasties, facelifts, whatever they needed. And then eventually I rented my own space, 1 day, 2 days. Then when I started renting, 3 days, you started paying more for rent than you could have rent on your own. Then you're like, okay, I'm ready.
How long did that take you?
Couple years, maybe 2 years. 3 years.
So you have your own clinic since?
So I started my own clinic from the beginning. But I started 2 in the beginning. So I told myself to open one office is a lot of work, and maybe to open a second office is only half the work. If that makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's not true, I think. I don't know.
So I did the same work. I convinced myself it was the same thing. So then I opened 2 offices from the beginning. And then I just renovated. Well, I've been lucky the last few years also. I built out a new office on Long Island and a new office in Manhattan over COVID and after COVID. So we've expanded also in the last 10 years.
Great. And how do you manage all of this with your personal life? How do you balance it?
I mean, my work is my passion. It's my personal life. It's my hobby. We're lucky we get to do the social media. It's very artistic. We get to. I'm interested in accounts, like in managing the finances of the business. I find it fascinating. I like to see patients. I like to make people happy. We like to do all the other stuff, the non-surgical stuff. I like to manage my staff. To be honest, I don't mind it. I know it's hassle. But I think we're lucky we get to wear a lot of hats, and you get to push yourself every day. But my hobbies are getting better at my work. I read management books. I read, psychology books, understand people, understand our patients. And then we have so much to learn about our industry all the time. So it's always fun, and I have kids, so they also keep you busy.
Do you think that they will follow your steps?
For now, I don't think so, but you never know. It's whatever, they're all, but my older one has special needs. I'll be taking care of her, but my younger one, she's very artistic. I'm sure it's like me, so you see what she likes to sing, she likes to draw, so we see, I don't know.
If you'll have a partner in the future to manage it.
And if I don't, I don't.
So don't put much expectations on his right.
It's the life is for you, and their life is for them, so yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. Dr. Dilip, it was very good talking to you. It was a pleasure having you here in Brazil with us. Once again, thank you for sharing all of your knowledge with us, sharing all of this amazing experience of building your practice. I think that every surgeon needs to hear sometimes. The ones that are starting and the ones that are already in business, we always learn something from you. Thank you very much.
No, thank you all for having me, and I learned more here than what I can give, so thank you.
Thank you very much one more time. It's been a pleasure, and I hope I'll see you again soon.
For sure.
Have a safe trip back to New York.
Thank you so much.